Welcome back to Game Informer. I am Joe Juba. I am joined by fellow Game Informer editor Ben Reeves.
Hello, Joe.
And we are here with artist, writer, and generally good guy extraordinaire Zander Cannon.
Hi.
And we are here to talk about the making of our Game Infarcer cover for 2017.
For 2017.
And that's what we're looking at it here. It's a sort of take on Metal Gear Solid 6.
If you can't tell, it's a parody.
Yeah.
I know some people are confused online.
I've read that some people don't know.
Yeah, that is funny actually. Like just this morning, I was tweeting at someone who would like even though it clearly says parody on the bottom of the pages of the text, they sometimes think it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is definitely the art. The art style that the next Konami game is.
They're really going for it.
So. The way these covers always start, I mean, Zander, we've been doing this for, what is this, 12, 13
now it's
years?
12. We said 12 last year. We were wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Finally.
So we've been doing this for a while, and I feel like we found a pretty good rhythm for how we get these covers going.
Do you remember what your first cover was?
Yeah, it was. We were hotly anticipating Halo 3.
Oh.
But I mean, it still wasn't going to come out for another, I mean, I don't even think that the Xbox 360 was out at that time.
Yeah, it might have been that. It might have been that far back.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was so much about Halo 2 at the time that was like, oh, wow, this game has dual wielding. So it's like that whole cover was a litany of like ridiculous features it might have, like triple wielding and whatever that
Yeah,
means.
and a football player throwing a missile.
I think it's a proof of God or something.
Yeah, it's proof of God, yeah.
Denver omelets, I think, were on there somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, and I remember coming in and being like, and you guys were listing off all this stuff, and I think that you didn't know what my reaction was going to be, and I was like, I was just heaven. I found my tribe. And I came back and I went nuts and drew 70 other things.
Yep. And now, over a decade later, here we are talking about it again. So yeah, we're looking at the finished version of this. Well, almost. This isn't exactly what ran in the issue. We did some logo and text changes and stuff. But the
Game
art's
Informer.
the same. Can you hop back to a sort of earlier version of this?
So let's see. So we'll get rid of the. Okay. So let's see the thing.
Too early.
Too early.
This is where you started. Clearly.
I mean, here's like a junky here's
perfect.
my first.
No,
that's cool.
That's good. So the way we normally start these is, before we call Zander in, there's a group of us that like work on the Game Infarcer content, get together and sort of brainstorm ideas. You know, like what are the big games from the last few years that would be like fun to lampoon, but not just being a big game, but also like we want to make sure that there's some good visual gags in there because this cover and especially like with Zander's style, it works really well to like cram in a bunch of like little jokes that we can. Do
you remember any of the failed ideas that didn't make it?
For this year?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I have them written down somewhere.
I remember Mario Overwatch.
Mario Overwatch.
Yeah.
See, now that would have been
really
fun
rolls
to draw.
off the tongue.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing where it's like, yeah, you know, if it's something about, Limbo, say, it wouldn't be quite as fun as saying like something about Overwatch, where there's a gajillion characters and they're brightly colored in backgrounds and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, Limbo would be fun too, but
It's a good game.
We ended up on doing Metal Gear, I think, because it just has a lot of like. There's a lot of potential for ridiculous jokes in there, and because like it has a lot of very recognizable characters that are fun to zero in on. Though you did a great job on this, by the way, Zander.
thanks.
No, I'm just going to start tearing into it while you're here.
What a piece of.
No, but I think last year I think we set a pretty high bar with the Bloodborne Dr. Seuss mix-up last year, just in terms of like the jokes and the art and all of that, like this thematically coming together super well. But I think that we did I think that we came close again this year.
Yeah,
I think we've got something. I think we've got something pretty funny.
Well,
here.
my problem coming into this was that you're like, okay, Zander, get ready, Metal Gear Solid, and I'm like, God, like a couple of years ago we did Zelda, and unbelievably, I'd never played a Zelda game.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, like I've been playing video games for 30 years, and plus, and but yeah, I never played a Metal Gear Solid game, and so I mean, I knew about them, and I knew kind of some of the stuff, but it's like, oh my gosh, there's 30 years of like not just a little bit of lore, but like completely backwards and upside down lore. That's
yeah. Oh, and one of the problems we had when we were first talking about like the art for this cover was like, how do you do Metal Gear like satire and make it so ridiculous that it's not even plausible?
Right. Yeah.
Because they already have vampires.
Yeah, they have
and, like, people come
vampires
back from
and
the dead.
grafted arms and like bipedal robots and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's I think that was probably, at least from our conceptual standpoint, the hardest part of this cover was just like making it ridiculous enough to be a joke and not just plausible in Metal Gear lore.
We'd say a couple things and be like, I think that's already a Metal Gear thing, kind of. Like, it needs to be more ridiculous. Like, that was the hard part.
Yeah, and I think too, you have to thread that needle too, where it's like, well, what in a way, like, how is this different from like, well, it's just Metal Gear 6 and Kojima's still making it.
Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, but yeah, I mean, so I remember thinking, well, we needed to do something that was sort of more like money grab stuff that that Konami would have done.
Right.
But again, I was starting on the back foot. Like, I was like, whoa, okay, it's gonna take a while to catch up.
So do you go watch videos, or what do you do?
I watched
research?
a ton of videos, and there was a 12-hour long video about the lore of, it went through every game in order, like in chronological order. Yeah, it was crazy.
So what the image that we're looking at here is what you said, sort of your first concept sketch, based on the idea that we wanted, like, so Snake had a bionic arm in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
So we were going with the idea that he's basically like Inspector Gadget now. He has a helicopter head. He has a Swiss Army arm. He, for some reason, has a like cartoon mascot box friend.
I remember really liking Boxy, like, in the concept.
I know, darn.
Well, it's still kind of in there.
It still sort of got in there, but yeah. I think the original idea was sort of like the box had become like a robot companion too, I think. Right? But which it morphed, and it's fine because that's how concepts work.
Well, there's a lot of and there's sometimes it's just the information density is such that you have to just put things inside of other things and stack things on top of other things.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the nice part of this too is that I could a lot of the tricky part is nailing the basic composition. Like, okay, well, this is how this character is going to sort of interact with the space, and then you can start thinking, okay, well, now how have we distributed these gags? Okay, so there's like, there's the box in the background, and then there's the helicopter thing, and there's a Swiss Army arm, and I think we were going to have a refrigerator in his butt. So
we'll see some of these jokes in a more final version.
Yeah.
But like what we've got going on there, that weird thing by his butt is like a Coke can or a beer can or something, right? And his talk about his machine gun that he's holding.
Well, I mean, I remember reading something about how Konami felt like these AAA games were, especially made by Kojima, were so expensive and not as profitable as, say, pachinko. And I think, and in Japan, pachinko is is a big thing. I mean, it's like slot gambling in the U.S. And so I thought, well, it would be funny to have his gun be his gun be a pachinko machine. And of course, then it's like I realized, oh, pachinko machines are really complex. Mm-hmm. So then you have this extremely dense joke that you have to do exactly right for it to even land right in the middle. So, so this is the second round where I was starting to put things together, and I mentioned it last year. Like, I do all of the sections in different layers, and so that's why I color code them so that I don't accidentally draw on one layer when I'm supposed to be drawing on another, and the color doesn't matter at this point. So that's when I started dropping all that stuff in. Like Snake and Otakon and other Snake are all touching, so like that's part of that's all part of the thing there.
Yeah. So let's talk about some other stuff we've got going on here too. Zoom in on that name tag.
Let's see.
It's gonna be hard to get that much detail in there, and like, is that gonna hold over in the final cover? Kind of, you're talking about information density, like little things like that.
And it does. I mean, print is so, like, I think that we get used to computer screens all the time, but it's like print is so sharp that you can really, put a lot in there.
Yeah.
That at the same size, well, at least 5 years ago, you couldn't kind of depend on people being able to see it on a screen.
Sure.
So some changes in this version of it compared to the last one.
Yeah.
We have, in the last one, Snake had 2 eye patches.
Right. Right.
We have him cut
a
down
solid
to
joke,
just
of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pure gold. And then we also have sort of preliminary, maybe not eye patches on both young Otacon and young Snake.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were talking about that as like, and on the cardboard box itself, too. Because we were talking about just like, because everyone in Metal Gear seems to need an eye patch.
Yeah.
Talking about using that as a joke. But then from where I stood, I thought part of the problem with that ends up being like, then everyone just sort of looks like, I think using a lot of eye patches can be funny, but like for someone like young Snake, like Solid Snake very distinctly does not have an eye patch. So then that might actually be sort of visually confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we wouldn't want this to be visually confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not at
it has
all.
to make sense.
I think at one point, too, I was thinking it'd be funny if he had like a nose patch or like a nostril patch. And you're just like, at some point, it just becomes like, what is that? It's
well,
too confusing,
we
too
do
much.
have that to a... Oops, sorry. We do have that to a degree.
Yeah, now I can see it.
Yeah. Where are we doing? Okay.
There we go.
We have the boss back there with a boob patch.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I know. I really would like to bring the class to these drawings here. But yeah, well, and I think too, like you always have to balance out, like, well, okay, sort of this makes sense, and this sort of serves our thesis statement.
Yeah.
But then also this is funny. Like this is a funny repeated visual gag, and I think that was one of those things that was kind of on the line where it's like, well, I think that we decided it didn't quite sell the gag as much as it should have.
But we did end up getting it in there. We kept the eye patches off some of those main characters, but do you have the next phase of this?
Yeah, so let's see. So here's here's something we can show the pencils too.
Oh wow.
Oh, very nice.
There we go.
And apparently there we go. So yeah, so I did, so the pencils, the pencils aren't usually that different from the inks because, because I'm going off of the roughs and I can just put things in there. It's just they're a little bit sloppy and, the lines don't all match up.
And now you're using all this comic book terminology. Okay, so it's not really that complicated, but you're talking about pencils and inks. But you're really doing all of this digitally, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I like working in actual pencils and actual inks, but really only now it's like, well, I'm not. There are a lot of artists who make a lot of money selling original artwork, and I am not one of them. Although these maybe I could, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's just faster. I mean, it's always faster, but it's faster and it's easier to change, and it just makes more sense to do it digitally for me. Now, if it were something that I wanted to sell or something I wanted to hang on the wall, I would certainly do it in pencils and inks. And I think that the fact that I do pencils, quote pencils, digitally, it kind of shows my age because there are a lot of people who they've always worked this way, and so they probably skip this step or they incorporate it backwards or forwards one way or the other, so that it's not quite so. I even have it look gray like real pencil. It's
so they pretty much would go straight to ink.
Maybe. I don't know what kids these days do. But it does seem a little archaic even to me as I'm doing it. But you got to go with what works.
Yeah. Hey, can you tell me what's going on in that upper left corner?
Oh,
What are those images up there?
Well, this is something I don't always do, but so I was doing what's his name, who's this guy? Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah.
And so then the gag was, well, he had one, game where he had somebody's arm grafted onto him, and so let's have all 4 limbs be grafted onto them, and so then it was easy to find. It was easy to whoa. It was easy to find the the Psycho Mantis sleeve from 5, but Otacon's dad's, Emmerich, the elder Emmerich's legs were kind of tricky to find like online. Yeah. So I just grabbed a picture and I put them on there so that I have them next to them so I could draw them properly. And you see that, I mean, I basically drew them exactly as they are there.
The original idea too was like we were thinking like, oh, there'd be like a blue whale in the background being like Fulton did off.
Oh.
I don't remember, was that an instance where we were like, that almost seems like too close to like something that could happen because you can't Fulton sheep and stuff?
Right.
Like how do we make it more ridiculous?
Yeah, well, because in Metal Gear Solid 5, there's a giant flaming whale flying through the sky. So our like, joke was like, oh, it could be a big whale. It's like, how do you... Like a big flaming whale is already ridiculous.
It's already, they already did it more ridiculous than we were trying to do in the real game.
Right. Maybe that's the point. Konami wouldn't be quite as fun and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then that was the other. I guess that was then the other picture. I guess was just. I don't know what that was because I mean I just put a regular arm on his leg.
Yeah,
that was. Yeah,
I do like turning the balloon into like a dog animal. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and the funny thing was it's like I looked up what those exactly look like. Yeah. And it was funny that the picture that I ended up looking at was a sculpture by have you ever seen the sculpture by Jeff Koons? It's that balloon dog. So I'm like, I wasn't even looking at a real balloon animal.
It's a sculpture of a balloon.
It's a sculpture of a balloon dog that's like 6 feet high and is shiny. It's kind of neat, but everybody refers to it as the death of art. So.
Okay.
So that's your whole that's your half of a.
So this
lesson.
Is your commentary.
This is my commentary, not at all. On that.
So also speaking of turning things into animals, scroll over to that to our Metal Gear there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's like sometimes a Metal Gear looks like a T-Rex, and sometimes it looks like a person, and they're always sort of vaguely animal shaped or something.
I think we were originally thinking like an elephant or like llama or something, but then
we had also
suggested the bunny,
or a sloth.
Yeah,
the sloth
was one of them too, but the sloth was actually going to be just tricky because it's like you can't really show a sloth without it hanging from something, and what's it going to hang from? Oh, do I have to have this inside in a forest or in a hangar or something?
Yeah. And like it's the tree part of it.
Yeah. The elephant was going to be, I think the elephant was going to be hard to sell the joke quite as much as the bunny. And when I thought of the nuclear missiles as the bunny ears.
Oh, there you go.
And eating one like a carrot.
And eating one like a carrot. And then that was like the last change I made was to make that carrot orange. Because it wasn't working otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I like the way that turned out.
So yeah. And then the other animals too, like.
Ooh, let's jump to a more finished version, and then then we can.
So let's see. We'll take away that.
Is this our final jump?
Inks.
Oh, inks. Okay.
Well, we could do inks, and then I mean it's going to be basically the same as
the pencils.
Okay,
not a whole lot changed.
From an artist perspective, like what should someone notice as the difference between like inks and pencils here?
Well, the pencils just are rougher, like they just like I'm not worried about line weight other than sort of the outlines are a little thicker and the wrinkles and the hair is a little bit thinner. But then when I went in on the inks, I really sort of I emphasized the outline and then I made the little wrinkles and stuff like that.
You sort of smooth things out a little bit.
Yeah, smoothed it out, like filled in the gaps. It's not perfect, but just trying to make it a little bit cleaner. I mean, I think that some people now will go straight from that. Will use that grit that they get from a they'll even ink with like a gritty type of brush stroke, which I would kind of do if I had a minute to think about how it would work. but I mean, I tend to make things really clean just because it just tends to work better for me. And I think also with something like this that's so much about the content and so much about the jokes, I feel like when you do too much too many stylistic tricks, it detracts. So I try to keep it pretty clean.
I don't think I noticed the haters gonna hate sign in the back before. Like that's a pretty good pun there.
Yeah. Let's jump back to the finished one.
All right, so let's see. There's the boss.
Then you just start filling things in color.
Oh yeah, we could go in and just sort of show. So we'll keep the boss in there, but this is the sky. So one of the things that I'll do first before I do anything in color in a illustration is that I'll look at photographs of whatever sky, if it's outside, that is, of whatever sky I think that I'm going to use, and then I'll start trying to recreate it with like a base color. We can sort of show that. You know, we've got a base. The sky, the base color is orange, and then we have blue. We have blue, and so then I sort of if you see this, I blocked out most of the blue, in all the places where it would go. You can kind of do it either way, but I did it this way, and then I have the sun itself, so that's another gradient, and and a little circle in there. Cool. So yeah, and that's pretty fun, and it looks cool. And then what happens too is that these are the clouds, yeah. So then the clouds I just paint in, and that always, I mean, it's pretty easy to make clouds look more or less correct because people don't really pay attention to them. You're just looking at the colors.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really. So different shades.
So you don't like use a reference for that. You just sort of.
I might just to sometimes there's a particular way that clouds sort of group themselves or form in the sky, and so you just want to have it basically look like that. But I mean, you can even see all the little like digital patterns that have emerged in there, but you don't see it in the final illustration because there's so many other things to look at. Whoops. So that's the sky, and then the ground. So one thing about the sky too. Let's see. I did this thing here. So the sea, it's going to reflect the sky, but it's not going to be quite as bright. And so I just do a little filter where it just takes it down just a tiny bit and then desaturates it just a tiny bit, and that I feel like that saves me so much time because it's like when you are talking about sunset or sunrise or any time that there's a low light that's a certain color, everything around you is colored that color more so than it is its own color. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I try to go by it. And so like then when we start getting to the ground's not very interesting, but but I just but things are always sort of being sort of cheated towards that warm sunset color. And then when I did the
real quick, I noticed you've like colored in their eyes. Is that like the order you do things in, or is that just a
I think that it was just I just didn't undo that because those were
no big deal. I was just
special
curious.
effects, like just I think that must be in an upper. Oh yeah, I think it's in an upper layer because I didn't.
Okay, yeah, it's not a big deal. I was just curious because they were on.
Yeah, or I made a mistake. And so then when I do the flats. So again, let's see.
Do you tend to start in the background? Like I know you did the background, but then even coloring things in the back. Do you go back to forward, back to front?
No, I just. I mean, you select it, but all of these, everything is in the same layer. Mm-hmm. If it's
in the front.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a physical object that's not the sky or the ground.
Okay.
The ground I always make separate because I'll sort of paint it because it's all one color, but you want it to have some texture to it.
Yeah.
So let's see, and then oh yeah, so these are the basic colors. So like everything, if they were under essentially flat,
like fluorescent light,
yeah. And so, but then I just say, all right, well, I'm going to make it a little bit darker, a little bit less, a little bit less, I don't know, whatever, bright, saturated, and then I'll end up doing things like painting in a little bit of bounce light on their faces, so that it has a little bit of texture. It gives them a little bit more dimension as characters. But the nice thing is I don't have to do much of that. you know, because a lot of that is taken care of by like, oh, it's dark, and then it has these hot yellow highlights on them.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, is a crutch.
I don't understand what Kid Snake is doing. Is he supposed to be whistling?
I think he's like,
yeah,
oh,
like
okay.
I'm driving this.
Yeah, it seemed to me like, yeah, he was just like, I'm pretending that I'm driving the box.
All right, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, I get it.
So
that's good.
Great.
Yeah, and then let's see, and then we had a couple other like effects, like the oh, where's the oh yeah.
It seems like it gets pretty complicated. Is it
Yeah,
hard to like keep all
does.
these layers straight when you're actually doing this?
It's really hard, and yeah, I have to name them all. Like I had to type in all like these are this, and then and then the question, and then exclamation points of the snakes.
Yeah.
And so that was
balls.
What?
Oh, it just says balls on the bottom of his clip there. Magazine.
Oh yeah, because it's a pachinko machine and they use little balls. And I thought it was funny to write balls.
Especially that's also close to where it would be.
The gag about the snakes, which I thought was funny, but I think is pretty obscure, was because at the end of, well, I don't know, some games, when you die, right, someone's like, snake, 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 like the long snake.
Oh.
Okay, wow, I didn't even catch that. Yeah, so we have snake, snake, snake.
Wow, that's an interesting meta joke.
Wow.
There.
Yeah, you know that you come to the right place for the meta jokes.
No, that's cool. Yeah, so let's zoom in a little bit and point out some of the little smaller jokes that might be a little trickier to catch.
Let's see. So I don't know if there's anything.
Well, we've got all the so there's we had D Dog in MGS5.
Yeah,
so
D Dog.
D Platypus.
D Narwhal. D Platypus. This is D. It says NMR, which is Naked Mole Rat. and he kind of ends up looking like. Do you watch the Venture Brothers? There's a character who has an eye patch who kind of looks a lot like this guy. Anyway,
man, I've seen a couple episodes of it, but it's been a long time.
But I looked up Naked Mole Rat, and that was the character that came up because he looks like a naked. So anyway, yeah, the D Skunk, and then D Weta. That's the bug that the Weta Studios, the special effects. But it's this huge bug that's in New Zealand. It's only in New Zealand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was in New Zealand a year ago, and I saw one. And they're these fascinating things.
Gross.
Yeah, they're gross. They're like as big as a squirrel.
Oh gosh, that's disturbing.
Because they don't. Well, New Zealand has a weird ecosystem, but.
So you've got the Konami code in here.
Yeah, we got the Konami code. Yeah, that was this end up down or up down left right left right BA start. Classic. And then inside our pachinko machine we got Diamond Dogs, Kill a Fox, because Fox Studios, and then there's the
balls,
all the balls, and then it's like camo, blue camo, which I kind of forgot I did that.
Yeah,
good joke, me.
Good job.
Oh, and
non-legally actionable cola.
Yeah, because I started the deep dive into the wiki wormhole of Metal Gear Solid, and one of the things. One of the games, I guess in Japan, it was released with like a real cola name that you could use as a power-up or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when it came here, it was something else.
MGS4, I think. Yeah.
The sodas they were drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this character was from one of them. This robot character was from 2, maybe. And then I guess there was somebody was telling me about like that there was a pizza that had or a ramen that had pizza in it that was somehow related to that was. A thing that you could get either in the game or it was related to the game. At this point, I don't even remember why I did that.
It might have been something. I think we were talking about the fact that Kojima is always tweeting pictures of his food.
Oh yeah.
That might be where that started from. But yeah, I don't even remember.
Because I think at one point we were talking about putting Kojima in there on the cover too, and they were like, "It doesn't make sense because he's not really involved in the game." But
yeah. Snakes on roller skates. That's important.
Oh yeah, that was. One of the first things I think you requested. Yeah. So then we have the ghost boss. Yeah. And I gave her a question mark scar instead of that big elaborate scar.
Yeah.
The hater's gonna hate. Yeah. The eye patch. boob patch. And then the insert 75 cents for more sheep. I wanted to do some micropayment joke.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially appropriate that the micropayment joke is over on Mother Base, because that's where MGS5 like really had problems with that.
Yeah. There were micropayments on there too.
Yeah, for sure. And to the point that they like got in the way of your ability to like play the game sometimes.
Yeah.
So
there's
Ocelot with
multiple arms.
Multiple arms. Yeah. So like he's got a Metal Gear arm. He's got praying or Psycho Mantis, and then this
just like an arm for
a regular arm, and then the Emmerich arm.
Yeah.
The Fulton balloon. Yeah, and then the flies. I'd put the flies because I always like that part of number 5 where like you could smell bad if you never took a shower.
Yeah.
And then the little blood and stuff like that. And helicopter rotors are fun to draw.
Are they?
Yeah. So do you use reference for those?
Yeah, I use reference for as much as I can. I mean, obviously I don't use it much for Mother Base, but like especially the fishing pole. But like it's fun. I feel like it's almost like free like richness to a drawing when you can just look up, this is what this thing actually looks like. And I mean, really, it's like there's nothing particularly functional about this design that I did. Like, I was kind of just grabbing a couple things, but you can kind of go like, oh yeah, that's enough. It looks
it looks better than just like, here's a ball.
Yeah,
it's not an engineering blueprint.
Yeah, right. And then these guys with the
dollar sign.
Like the dollar sign. And there's the carrot. Yeah, this Metal Gear was really fun to draw too, because it's like, you have to basically design what a bunny would look like, but using, one or two of the other designs in their color schemes and stuff.
Yeah.
And the time paradox. That was one of the flashback games where you had to if you died somehow.
Yeah, there's a point where you can like kill Ocelot in MGS3 when you're not supposed to be able to, and then you get the time paradox game over and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely thing. And we still got the cardboard box.
Yeah,
friend
the box
in there.
is still in there. Orange.
Orange. Yeah, I know. I do like, and that was why I didn't put a joke there. I just thought it was so funny that it just says orange.
Yeah,
like not oranges.
No, it's like the orange. I think is. What
that's right, and that's why it's off center. Yeah.
I think that's from MGS2. But so let's pull out and look at the whole thing again.
Do you have a favorite process? Do you like doing the pencils, or do you like coloring the most?
I used to more than I do now. Like I really like the pencils, and I like coming up with the gags and fitting more stuff in. But yeah, everything kind of has its charm, because when I'm doing the inks, I'm being really polished about it, and I'm making certain things sort of fade to the background and certain things come to the foreground, and then the color, I think, is that's when it all comes together, because I think that like this is a nice drawing, but it doesn't. You wouldn't consider it finished like you might have if it had solid blacks in it, or like even tones or something. But so I really like the color process when you go in and you're like, now we're really sort of like showing what the dimensions are of all these things.
And in our in our exchanges, as we're Zander's sending us some things and asking for feedback, and we do a little back and forth, and I'm always surprised that when you're sort of at that final stage of like inks, you send it over and I'm just like, wow, that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I love this. And then there's that like color, like I am surprised at how much better it can look when I already think like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah,
and then
you
get
black and white, but
but you get things like the like the highlights from the sun and stuff on there that really just like make it come together.
It has more depth to it. It seems more 3D, if that's the right word. But yeah.
Yeah, and I always think actually the funny thing is too, when I color it, I'll end up feeling like, oh, you know what, like the color makes everything so much clearer that I feel like, I could have fit more stuff in.
Yeah.
Like down below the boss, but down below the big boss, big boss. It's just bare ground. I could have put a whole bunch of more jokes down there because in the inks, it didn't really seem like you could put much more in there because it just seems full.
Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to in the color, you sort of feel like, oh, it's pretty empty. It could have used a little bit.
Yeah, this image is really empty.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to accuse our Game Infarcer covers of being too roomy.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of white space there.
Yeah.
So Zander, let's say that someone is paging through Game Infarcer. They see this and they're like, "Wow, I really like that art. Where can I see more of that kind of art?"
Well,
what else do you have going on?
Well, right now I've got a comic book series called Kaiju Max, which is published by Oni Press, and it is about a prison for giant monsters. But it's like HBO's Oz, so there's prison gangs and drugs and stabbings, and the second season is probably out by the time you're listening to this in trade paperbacks. So there's 2 trade paperbacks available.
So if you like that giant robotic rabbit, like see more creatures kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. I should put that guy.
Yeah, there you go. Bring him in.
But yeah, and then you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr if you choose.
Excellent. Well, and thanks again so much for working with us on this and for taking the time to walk us through it, and hope to see you again next year.
Yeah, I can't wait.